Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson Wood. I'm your host on Teaching with Board Games. I've been receiving a lot of messages from the viewers asking for stuff around creative writing and what kinds of games might be good and suitable to help with creative writing. Well, this little box right here has something that will certainly help. And what it is something I've looked at, I've shown once before. These are the Rory story cubes, but these are the Batman edition. So for the report card for Batman story cubes, it's much the same as the first one because really it's the same thing as the original story cubes. It's just the Batman ones. So for the number of players, I'm giving it the A+. Again, the A+ is simply because with this game, you could play it solo if you want to. I mean, you roll the dice, you make your story. I mean, that's really what's happening in the game here, and I'll show more of that when I take it to the table and show you how it's played. So if you project this in some way so that everybody can see it, so if you're doing it at a table and everybody around the table can see the dice being rolled, then it works for everybody around the table. But if you're doing it for a classroom, if your classroom has like an LCD projector, then you could be, maybe rolling the dice under the camera and projecting it onto your screen so that way everybody sees it. I mean, in that way too, as I said, you could do it for like literally any number of people and everybody could just be writing their own story based on the thing that you've rolled. So when you can do between 1 and 1 million players for one game, definite A+. For learning, I'm going to give the game a B. The game, it's a great way to introduce some ideas and get sort of creative juices flowing for creative writing and just get some ideas. Sometimes when we are, if I just said to you, okay, write me a story about Batman, you may be like, but if I say to you, write me a story about Batman that includes the following 9 elements, well, that makes it a little easier. Now you have something to scaffold it on, and that's what this is doing, is it's giving you those, these dice are going to give you results, and the results are the things that you are going to have to include in your story. And so that's a great thing here. And one other thing that they mentioned with the Batman one in particular, because Batman was based on originally a comic book, is that you could be making, doing this as part of a media study as well, and instead of just writing a story, you could use the panels from the dice to create panels in a comic strip. So it's another kind of learning, which I thought was kind of interesting, that you could be including in here with the Batman story cubes. I mean, nothing to say too, you could include that with all the story cubes, but they just introduced the idea for the first time that I was aware of with the Batman ones. For fun, I'm going to give the game a B. I think it's a fun game. I think the students are going to enjoy this kind of thing. Going back to the classroom this year, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm certainly going to be including these as a fun activity that we do in the classroom, and I will report back more on that once I have done that. But so this is, I think the kids are really going to enjoy this kind of thing. It's a different way to do it, and even if you don't like the way that the rules are mentioning, there's just, as the rules in themselves say, there's no wrong way to do these things. And if you even look online, there are lots and lots and lots of ways that people are using these Rory story cubes in different ways to inspire creative writing. So make sure you look on those too and find some other ways you can be using these for some fun in the classroom. For time, I'm going to give the game an A+. I mean, one thing I look at when I consider time is the setup and the cleanup. Well, here's the setup. You open the dice, you have 9 dice inside, you roll them. There, I just set up the game. And once you've done, then you just take the 9 dice, you put them back in the thing. There, I just cleaned up the game. Okay, so I mean, like I say, it is super quick, super easy to clean up. And the game is, again, you're to be doing because everybody could be playing at once. Everybody could be using the same results for one set of dice. It's not like everybody has to wait turns, and I love that about a game when you don't have to wait turns for something, because sometimes people start to lose interest. Well, in this one, everybody's involved all the time, and then you can be listening to each other's stories afterwards as well, and maybe contributing ideas, and you can do all kinds of things with it. But the point being is that you can play this literally for as long as you want. I mean, you can set it up, roll the dice, write the story. If you want to roll another story, go for it. If not, put them away. It's just, like I say, it's so flexible in terms of the time that you have for it, and the setup and the cleanup is so easy. It's an easy A+. For cost, I'm going to give it an A+. one thing I always look at and always think that people need to consider when they are considering the cost of something is, one, how much does it cost? I mean, so yes, this costs like between $10 to $12 or something, so very, very cheap. But also have to consider, are you going to get your money's worth out of it? So one, in terms of value of the components, these are very solid dice, possibly Bakelite. I mean, these are really, really solid dice. So unless you're losing them, then these dice are not going to get destroyed. They're engraved, so they're not just printed on with the symbol, so those aren't going to wear off with use. So they're very durable that way. And then the amount of use that you're going to get out of this game, I mean, if you're like me as a teacher in the classroom, then there's definitely a lot of use you could be getting this in the classroom. And parents at home, if you're encouraging your kids to write at home, again, it's the kind of thing you could definitely be doing multiple times and playing and encouraging and using these in fun ways to get the kids writing. And so yes, I 100% believe that you will get your money's worth out of these cubes, so A+. All right, let me take this game to the table and then we'll show you how it's played. So this is the plastic thing that the story cubes comes in as for the Batman series. And as I said, you have 9 dice. Each dice has 6 different faces. So you're going to roll those out, and based on what you get here, that is going to create your story. So I'm using a story here that has the bat grapple. I have Robin here. Not quite sure what that is. Oh, that's Batman's fist. So that's a punch. But now you also have this reference sheet here to look these up if you're not sure. So once you get used to it, you won't need this anymore. So that was the grappling hook. Looks like Batman punch. Yeah, it is. It's a fist. Okay, it's a fist. That is... Oh, I just have to look at the right way around. That's Clayface. And Two-Face. All these faces. Gotham City. Train tracks. No. Turn it sideways. It's a prison cell. But you know what? And the thing is, too, I mean, even though I said that this is a prison cell, or I said it's train tracks first, it could be train tracks if I want it to be train tracks. It doesn't have to be anything particular. Okay, that looks like a transmission or a freeze gun. And according to the thing here, it says a gas tap. And then a van, maybe a getaway vehicle. But, when you're looking at these dice, you're going to create a story then using these dice. And I put them in this order. That doesn't mean that they have to be in this order. Maybe it starts off with Clayface doing something. He is, starting to create a gas leak. Two-Face is the getaway driver. He's getting ready to go. Well, maybe Clayface is trying to create a gas thing to get Two-Face out of jail. So we'll put that as a jail thing. Robin comes in with the grapple hook. Robin is in Gotham City. So we start off, introducing the setting as Gotham City. Clayface is doing this where he's trying to get him out of jail with a gas leak. Actually, he's just trying to break him out of jail. Robin comes in, tries to punch him. That doesn't work, so he gets a grapple, uses a gas thing to, maybe incapacitate Clayface, and then drives home. So again, I can just use this as a van, but I mean, it could be a vehicle. I could use this as a vehicle as I want. So one thing they say in this is that there is no wrong way to go about this. You can create the story however you want. Now, what I created was a very simple story, but you could, depending on the students' levels, depending on their English levels, depending on their age, you may have higher requirements or lower requirements for the telling of their story. As I said too, you could maybe sort of indicate that each one of these is going to be a panel, and you find like a comic making program online where each one of these is going to be a panel in which you tell your story. And so every time you play, you're just going to simply pick up the dice, roll them, and that's going to tell you the elements in your story. And that is how you play Rory Story Cubes. But remember, check out those things online for lots of different ways that people are showing you some really creative ways to use these. So with the story cubes, the Batman story cubes, the one thing that I didn't mention before during the report card, something that you're going to have to keep in mind and consider with this game is that you are going to need to keep this thing, which unfortunately doesn't fit in here with this. Like the original story cubes had a little folded thing that fit inside the tin. This one doesn't, so you're going to need to keep this safe. Or else just memorize all these symbols here and what they are. Now the symbols, as I mentioned during the showing how it's played, don't have to be specifically what it says. So like the Catwoman doesn't have to be specifically Catwoman. It could be like an unexpected ally coming in to help. The chandelier doesn't have to be specifically a chandelier. It could be a source of light. The docks doesn't have to be specifically docks. It could be a crime scene. So how you want to use those dice is up to you. The purpose is simply just to inspire you to use them however you want. But if there's any dice with faces which aren't clear to you, then as I say, you might want to hold on to this. I mean, once you know how to play the game, once you're familiar with all the symbols and know what they are, then really there is no need to hold on to this anymore. It is just a reference, and I mean, this is the important part here. But this is the kind of thing which I think would do very well in for either for my school we do the mindful activities. So when students are coming into the classroom, having activities that they can be doing quietly while we're getting ready for the day. If they have some free time and want to do a quiet activity, this is another great thing because this game doesn't involve any talking. The most noisy part of it is just rolling those clanky dice. In the language period too, you could be rolling the dice and having all the students do that, and reading and sharing, turn that into a multimedia thing where you're creating comic strips and putting things together. So it's just a whole thing you could be doing with this. Again, I would highly advise that you go online and look at the other ideas that people have been putting out there online for how to use these, because there's some wonderful ideas out there, and I can't go naming them all through this video, so, and probably even some that I haven't seen yet during my research. So please do your due diligence and check these out, because there's a lot of great stuff out there, and I think that they are well worth it. So if you are new to this channel, then what I'm doing is I'm putting out content on a weekly basis around topics of gamification, game-based learning, showing how we can use games like story cubes here to enhance our students' learning, our children's learning, our own pedagogy. My whole mantra as a teacher is I teach the way I wish I was taught, because I was never a good student, but I feel that if I had learned with games, I would have done so much better. And so I'm creating these videos as a learning resource for you, the parents, the teachers, the educators, the whomever, to find ways that we can learn in fun and creative ways. If this sounds good to you, then please do remember to hit like and subscribe down below. It really does help the channel, and I really do appreciate it. And remember to hit that little bell too icon so that you're notified when the new content comes out, which, like I said, is on a weekly basis. And if you have any ideas for games you might like to see on the channel, or ideas for other content you might like to see, whether it's games reviews, publisher reviews, book reviews, just discussions around gamification, game-based learning, then please leave me that message in the comment section below. If you know of any other great games which are useful for creative writing, then again, leave me those messages in the comment section below. I love to get the feedback from the viewers, as it helps to direct the channel into giving you some relevant content. And that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. Until next time, I am Craig Thompson Wood, your host on Teaching with Board Games, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school with